Hey, Stephen Young here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts, with something kind of special, a 1972 Dodge W200 crew cab, 4 doors. Now you got to remember, pickup trucks arrived on the scene way back in the 19-teens, but the problem is, what do you do when the crew needs to get to and from the job site as well as the cargo? Well, you put together a 4-door. Now I can't say that Dodge was first. International Harvester was first in 1957 with a factory-built quad cab, but in 1963 Dodge led the industry with the industry's first crew cab. Of course, Ford in 65 and GM and Chevrolet 73 was the first year for the 4-door cab from the factory, not a conversion. But this one here is a 1972, which makes it the first year for this generation of Dodge pickups, which went right into the 1980s, in fact, early 90s. Now, in a total, in 1972, there were 325,726 Dodge trucks, of which only 1,067 were 4-wheel drive, 4-door crew cabs. Very rare truck right here. Now this one's been customized quite a bit, this dumb paint job. We can't hold that against it. Let's dig in a little bit. Now again, 1972 was the first year for this styling cycle, and here's Motor Trend right here, March 1972. And do I hear a self-entitled whining sound, kind of like a bad power steering pump? Canceled? What do you mean we're canceled? Anyway, in this magazine, we see a Dodge ad for the all-new 1972 styling cycle. It's kind of a weird ad, mag wheels on the truck, which were not ever a factory option, but I love the headline. From those wonderful folks who brought you the Hemi, introducing the only all-new pickup for 1972. Now, of course, you couldn't get a Hemi in a Dodge pickup truck. You could in 2004, but again, not in 1972. But here it is. All in all, it's a far cry from the Dodge pickup your granddad knew and loved. But then, you don't look much like him either, with your sideburns. But anyway, this is the first gen. Now, the thing about this styling cycle was that it borrowed a lot from the Plymouth Satellite and Roadrunner. We come around to the side here, and we'll see that the fender flares very much like a 1971 Plymouth Satellite or Plymouth Roadrunner. Dodge Charger was a different thing, so the Plymouth Styling Studio perhaps had some influence on the Dodge Styling Studio. In fact, the hood is gone, but if you know your 383 Roadrunner from 1971, it had a hood that sort of had a sideways scoop. These Dodge trucks had a similar design, so kind of interesting that Chrysler's Fuselage styling found its way all the way up or down to the truck line. You choose. Now, these rode on a very long 149-inch long wheelbase. This one has been quite modified beyond the goofy paint job. We see a home-brewed sander here on the back and dually wheels here. Now that was a possibility with these trucks, but the rear axle on this, if you look at it, that's a massive International or GMC style truck axle right there. So this would have had a Dana 60 from the factory in 1972. So this has been sort of, not hot rodded, but sort of, modified for utility. And look at the salt. Look at the way the frame, this right here is the leaf spring shackle mount right here. This is an iron stamping, and look how it's flaking apart like something from Truck Lagoon or maybe the Monitor or the Merrimack on the bottom of the ocean. But look at this. But again, this is a salt spreader truck at some point in its later life. Sad, but true. We can see right here, the frame on this was definitely cut. You can see here the back of some other vehicle was spliced in right there. That's not factory stuff. So somebody cobbled this one together. But before that was done, this was an Air Force truck. How do we know that? Well, Air Force blue right here. And again, inside, the beauty of the crew cab is how you have a full-size back seat and front seat, room for 6 people. And on this one, again, somebody's replaced the front bench with goofy high back bucket seats and a little plastic center console which just floats in place. Now, speaking of Dodge pickup trucks, this is 1969, toward the end of this styling cycle right here. And yes, you could get a 4-door crew cab right there. It was launched in 62.5 for the 63 model year, but we can see the pictures on the right showing the various seating options and decor options. And again, these are factory-built trucks. Now, it is true that Ford in 65 finally had factory-built trucks, but there were other sort of second tier four-door pickups, but from the factory, Dodge started in 1963. Now this is 1972 up, this new style here, and again, 165-inch wheelbase was possible with the Camper Special, that monster seen right there. This one here is a 149-inch wheelbase truck, which would have had a 6-foot bed. But again, let's trade spots here, Shane, and take a peek in there. I mentioned this was an airport or Air Force truck, and let's dig in on that fact. And Katie, if you'd be quiet over there, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. But right here, you can see right here, tower signals for control of airdrome traffic. Steady green light, cleared to cross the runway. Flashing green, cleared to proceed and watch for lights. Steady red, stop, there's a B-52 landing. Flashing red, clear active runway, stay away. Flashing white, return to starting point, something's gone wrong. But again, general warning, extreme caution with the red and greens flashing. So this was absolutely U.S. Air Force stuff right here. Speaking of which, we go down here, and this is a nomenclature plate right here. And this was issued to all U.S. property, in other words, government vehicles, Army Jeeps, deuce and a halfs, yes, even crew cab pickup trucks like this one right here. We've all the data on a good U.S. property, of course, no longer once it was sold. Now this truck, when it was originally built, being light blue, I would say, yeah, Air Force, almost assuredly. This one was an F code, I believe, 318 small block torque flight. And again, here's the shifter for the transfer case to put it in and out of four-wheel drive. And being a fleet vehicle, look at the gauge face right here, radio delete right there. Now, as a whole, somebody put in there, but this is what you got if you didn't buy a radio. And a lot of government vehicles did not have radios because they didn't need the soldiers or government employees listening to Led Zeppelin or The Who on the job. And there'd also be a citizens band or a regular shortwave type radio, whatever, for traffic control for the tower, etc., a military radio, whatever. So they didn't really need an AM or an FM. So that's why they had a radio delete. Now let's make our way to the front of this one and explore the engine bay. And on this, we do see an F. So this was the base 318 two-barrel. It's gone. Somebody snatched it, but you could have had also a 360 two-barrel or even a 400 big block. No 440 with the all-wheel drive. But again, this is a live axle up front. Of course, the power disc brakes up front. This is drums on this one. Look at that. Okay, big drum brakes on this one here. And we come around to this side. Shane will have a look at the front hubs. I'll trim this down right here. But this was put to work. Something kind of interesting on this one here is the aftermarket Super Winch hub locker right here. This thing here, 4x2, 4x4. Inside on the visor, this actually has a worn decal. So this is definitely added on. Super Winch, of course, I think they sponsored some Funny Cars and Wheel Standers. I believe a Connecticut-based company, Super Winch, which made winches for four-wheel drive type trucks and also stuff like locker hubs like that. Add-on stuff, or replacement stuff, I should say. Speaking of replacement, the Speedcast Fisher snowplow right here, perhaps put on at the Air Force, perhaps for use to clear some runways, who can say, but certainly put to good use in the subsequent owners of this truck right here as it made its way toward becoming a sanding unit like we see, and big fat wheels and tires on it. But again, the beauty of the crew cab was the major room for 6 grown-up adult human beings inside. And the gas tanks on these was located in the standard location behind the seat. But of course, on this one here, being that it has about a 2-foot long extension to the roof, the back of the cab is moved back to allow that back seat. But again, one thing about these that's interesting is the doors are not interchangeable. We can see they have a very different shape and a different form here. So these doors are not interchangeable front to back, which is kind of interesting. In some cases, on earlier crew cab conversions done by aftermarket industries, they would just use the front doors on the back and kind of do it on the cheap. But Dodge tooled up special rear doors, which if you're looking for, good luck. But here they are, right here. So that's a story of how Dodge was second to the crew cab market following International 1957. And of course, today, four-door trucks are almost the majority as more and more people make their daily driver a 3/4-ton truck. But back in 1972, this was strictly a heavy-duty Air Force hauler. Now, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Mag's YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and hit the bell so you're aware of the next video, which comes out tomorrow morning.